The pain came first, white-hot and searing, then the realization. Dr. Lysithea Voss wasn't on Earth anymore. Blood trickled down her temple as she fought to focus her vision in the pulsing violet light. The translucent barrier before her wasn't glass or plastic, but something that rippled like water, yet remained solid when she pressed her palm against it. Beyond it stood 3 figures with exoskeletons of gleaming obsidian and skin that shifted colors with each movement, currently a wary amber. "The human is conscious," said the tallest one, voice like gravel through a synthesizer. "Commence evaluation." Lysithea's mind raced, cataloging her surroundings with clinical precision despite her terror. A medical bay of sorts, but nothing like the hospital where she'd been working moments, hours ago. The air smelled of ozone and something metallic, and gravity felt wrong, too light, as though she might float away if she moved too quickly. "Where am I?" she demanded, proud that her voice didn't shake. "Who are you people?" The aliens exchanged glances, their skin rippling to a deep blue. One stepped forward, multi-jointed fingers tapping at a hovering display. "I am Fleet Commander Nixar of the Galactic Concordat," it said. "You are aboard the medical vessel Eterna, and you are our prisoner of significant value." "Prisoner?" Lysithea pulled herself upright. "I'm a doctor, not a criminal. There's been a mistake." The third alien, smaller than the others with elaborate ridge patterns across its cranium, approached the barrier. "No mistake, Dr. Voss. We've been observing your work on regenerative therapies. Your species has barely mastered interplanetary travel, yet you've developed healing techniques that outpace civilizations millennia beyond yours." Lysithea felt cold. Her research was classified. Experimental nanite therapy that could rebuild damaged tissue almost instantaneously. It had worked miracles on terminal patients, but it was years from public knowledge. "How did you—" A door slid open, and another alien entered, pushing a hovering gurney. On it lay a creature unlike anything Lysithea had seen. 6-limbed, with crystalline growths erupting from violet skin. It convulsed in obvious agony. "The Moirai Plague," said Commander Nixar. "It's decimating systems across 3 galactic arms. Our best healers can only slow it." The barrier before Lysithea suddenly disappeared. She stumbled forward, catching herself against an instrument panel. "You will heal this patient," said the ridge-headed alien, "or we will find another use for your species' aggressive tendencies." A threat. Unmistakable. Lysithea looked at the suffering alien, then at her captors. She was a prisoner, yes, but also possibly the only hope for countless lives across the cosmos. The irony wasn't lost on her. Kidnapped because she was too good at saving lives. "I'll need my equipment," she said finally. "Everything we could." "Salvage from your laboratory is here," said Nixar, gesturing to a sealed container. "Heal this patient, Dr. Voss, and perhaps we can negotiate terms for your continued cooperation." As the aliens withdrew to observe, Lysithea approached the crystalline infected patient. Earth seemed impossibly distant now. She was alone among the stars with only her healing arts as both weapon and shield. She drew a deep breath and opened the container of her nanite serums. Prisoner or not, she was still a healer, perhaps now the most important one in the cosmos. The alien patient's body temperature fluctuated wildly under Lysithea's touch. Its crystalline growths, eerily beautiful with their fractal patterns, pulsed, with internal light in rhythm with what she assumed was its heartbeat. 3 heartbeats, actually, occurring in complex syncopation. "I need to understand the physiology," she said, not looking up. "What species is this?" "Krellian Ambassador Orithia," replied the smaller alien she now knew as Science Director Ezka. "Their metabolic processes utilize trivalent phosphorus compounds instead of carbon. The crystals are calcified nerve tissue. The plague attacks the neural pathways first." Lysithea's nanites were programmed for human biology. They would need substantial recalibration. She worked quickly, interfacing her equipment with the alien medical systems. To her surprise, the translation was smoother than expected. Medicine, it seemed, had universal principles. The nanites need genetic material to recognize as healthy, she explained, carefully extracting tissue from an unaffected area of the ambassador's arm. And I need to understand what's causing the crystallization. Commander Nixar watched with arms crossed. Our analysis suggests a prion-like protein that rewrites cellular function. Hours blurred as Lysithea reprogrammed her. Nanites, testing small batches on tissue samples. The alien technology amplified her work, showing microscopic interactions in three-dimensional holograms that floated above her workspace. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. When she finally administered the treatment, injecting the modified nanites directly into the central nerve cluster at the base of the ambassador's skull, the entire medical bay went silent. Monitors chirped and pulsed with alien script Lysithea couldn't read, but she didn't need to. She could see the change, beginning. The crystals stopped growing. Then, impossibly, they began to recede. "Impossible," whispered Ezka, skin shifting to brilliant white. "Even our most advanced regenerative technologies can only contain the spread." Within an hour, Ambassador Orithia's condition stabilized. Within 3, the crystals had reduced by half. By the 6th hour, the ambassador opened 3 milky eyes and spoke, a melodic string of syllables that the translation device rendered as profound gratitude. Word spread through the ship. Aliens of species Lysithea couldn't begin to categorize appeared outside the medical bay, peering in at the human miracle worker. She heard the whispers, healer, savior, miracle bringer, and felt the weight of expectation grow. Commander Nixar approached as she monitored the ambassador's recovery. "The Concordat Council has been informed of your success. They wish to speak with you." "About my release?" Lysithea asked, exhaustion evident in her voice. Nixar's skin darkened. "About your new position. The plague has spread to 17 systems. Billions of lives hang in the balance. I can't be everywhere at once," she protested. "No," agreed Nixar. "But you can train others. Your methods can be adapted, distributed." Lysithea thought of Earth, of her family who must believe her dead, or missing. She thought of her patients waiting for treatments only she could provide. And she thought of billions of alien lives she'd never considered before today. "I want communication with Earth," she said firmly. "And I want guarantees. No weaponization of my techniques. No forced labor." For the first time, Nixar's expression seemed almost respectful. "You are in no position to make demands, Dr. Voss. And yet the Council may agree to terms. You are, after all, the most valuable prisoner the Concordat has ever captured." As Ambassador Orithia continued to heal before their eyes, Lysithea realized her captivity was just beginning. But perhaps so too was something much greater. The council chamber of the Galactic Concordat dwarfed any human structure Lysithea had ever seen. The cavernous space stretched upward seemingly without end, its walls lined with hovering platforms occupied by representatives of a dizzying array of species. Lysithea stood at the center on a raised dais, feeling impossibly small, yet uncomfortably conspicuous. "Dr. Lysithea Voss of Earth," announced a disembodied voice in perfectly accented English. "Healer of the Moirai plague and prisoner of the Concordat." The title stung, but she kept her expression neutral. 3 weeks had passed since her abduction, during which she'd successfully treated 12 more plague victims of 7 different species. Each case required painful trial and error to adapt her nanites, but each success strengthened her position. From the highest tier of platforms descended a being composed of interlocking geometric shapes that seemed to phase between solid and gaseous states. Grand Arbiter Pezron, she'd been told, the closest thing the Concordat had to a leader. We have reviewed your demands. The Arbiter's voice resonated directly in her mind, rather than through the translation devices. They are ambitious for one in your position. Lysithea squared her shoulders. My position is unique, Arbiter. I'm the only one who fully understands the nanite technology, and I'm the only one who successfully treated the plague across multiple species. A murmur rippled through the assembly. She pressed on. I want official recognition as a medical consultant, not a prisoner. I want regular communication with Earth. Let my people know I'm alive and continuing my work. And I want assurances my techniques won't be weaponized. Bold demands, came a new voice, as a serpentine figure with feathered crests slithered forward. I am Inquisitor Mazin. Tell me, human healer, why should we not simply extract the knowledge from your mind? We have methods. Lysithea felt cold fear crawl up her spine, but kept her voice steady. Because the nanites respond to my neural patterns. They're keyed to my brainwaves, a security measure I implemented after an attempted theft on Earth. Extract. Knowledge from me. And you'll get incomplete data that will kill your patients. It was only partially true, a calculated bluff. But she maintained unwavering eye contact with the Inquisitor. She lies, hissed Mazin. Perhaps, rumbled a massive entity covered in phosphorescent moss, Ambassador Orithia, now fully recovered. But her treatments work when nothing else does. The Krellian Confederation stands with the human healer. Other voices joined, some supporting, others opposing. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages, while Lysithea stood resolutely. At the center, Grand Arbiter Pezron raised appendages that glowed with internal light, silencing the assembly. We face extinction, divided by mistrust. Perhaps this human, this unexpected variable, is the catalyst we require. The Arbiter approached Lysithea, its form shifting and flowing. You will have your status as consultant rather than prisoner. You will have monitored communication with your world. But know this, should your methods be proven transferable without your direct involvement, these privileges may be revoked. It wasn't everything she wanted, but it was a start. I accept these terms, provided I have autonomy in my research and treatment protocols. Granted, with oversight, replied Pezron. And you will work closely with our most talented medical minds to expand treatment capabilities. As the council session concluded, Commander Nixar approached her. You've achieved what no other prisoner has, negotiated with the council on your first audience. Its skin rippled with what seemed like reluctant admiration. Is that rare? Lysithea asked. Unprecedented, replied Nixar. You should know. There are factions who see your abilities as a threat rather than a blessing. The Inquisitor's questions were not idle curiosity. Lysithea nodded grimly. I suspected as much. Your new quarters are being prepared. You'll have a laboratory, assistants. Nixar hesitated. And guards. For your protection, officially. As she followed Nixar from the chamber, Lysithea felt the weight of countless alien gazes. She was no longer just a prisoner, or even just a healer. She had become something far more dangerous in the complex politics of interstellar relations, a human with leverage. Lysithea's fingers danced across the holographic interface, adjusting nanite parameters for her newest patient. A methane-breathing Vorlon diplomat, whose crystalline growths had nearly consumed one of its sensory lobes. After 2 months aboard the Concordat's medical station Asclepius, she had refined her treatments for 23 distinct physiologies. Remarkable adaptability, observed her assistant Kef, a 6-limbed arachnoid whose species specialized in biochemistry. The nanites are rewriting their own programming based on encountered cellular structures. That's not supposed to happen, Lysithea frowned, enlarging the molecular display. They should only follow my explicit coding. Kef's mandibles clicked. equivalent of a thoughtful hum. Perhaps interaction with diverse biologies is triggering emergent behaviors. Before she could investigate further, the laboratory door slid open. Commander Nixar entered with 2 guards flanking a hooded figure. The guards' weapons were drawn, unusual in the medical sector. Doctor. Nixar's skin pulsed a troubled gray. This individual requested you specifically. They claim to have information about the plague's origin. The hooded figure stepped forward as the guards tensed. Slender hands emerged to lower the hood, revealing a humanoid with pale blue skin and eyes that reflected light like polished silver. I am Riven, of the Observant Order, the stranger said. I risk execution by coming here. Lysithea glanced at Nixar, who nodded grimly. The Order is a monastic sect that maintains historical records. They've been accused of sedition against the Concordat. Because we speak truths the Council wishes buried, Riven said softly. Including the truth about the Moirai plague. Lysithea dismissed her assistants and beckoned Riven to sit. Tell me. The plague isn't natural, Riven began, voice barely above a whisper. It was engineered as a weapon by a Concordat Black Research Division called Hemlock. It escaped containment 3 standard cycles ago. Nixar's color shifted rapidly. Shock, anger, disbelief. These are serious accusations with no evidence. I have evidence. Riven produced a crystalline data node. Research logs, genetic sequences, facility locations. The plague was designed to target specific neural pathways common across Council, opposition species. But it mutated, becoming indiscriminate. Lysithea took the data node, mind racing. If this is true, knowing the original formula could help me design more effective treatments. It's more than that, Riven's silver eyes fixed on hers. Your nanite technology is the missing piece they've been searching for, not just to cure the plague, but to control it, to make it selective again. Nixar stepped forward. I should report this immediately. To whom? Challenged Riven. How do you know Hemlock doesn't reach into the highest levels of command? Lysithea felt a chill as the pieces connected. The unusually high security around my work, the resistance to sharing my findings too widely, the Inquisitor's interest in extraction methods. She looked at Nixar. Who exactly oversees my project? Nixar's color drained to ashen gray. Grand Inquisitor Mazin, directly. Riven nodded grimly. Hemlock's military liaison. For several moments, silence filled the laboratory. Then, Lysithea stood, decision made. I need to modify all existing nanite batches immediately. If they're trying to weaponize my work, I'll make sure they can't. That would be treason, Nixar said quietly. Only if the Concordat truly sanctioned biological warfare against its own citizens, Lysithea countered. Did they? Nixar's silence was answer enough. I'll need your help, she told the commander. Security access, communication blackouts explained away as research necessities. Why would I risk my position, my life? Nixar demanded. Lysithea activated a display showing her latest patient's vital signs. Because right now I'm the only one who can stop this plague from becoming something far worse. And if I refuse to cooperate with Hemlock's plans, how long before I become expendable? Nixar's 4-fingered hand rested on its weapon. For a tense moment, Lysithea thought she'd miscalculated. Then the commander's color stabilized to a resolute blue. What do you need me to do? As they began planning, Lysithea realized how completely her life had transformed. No longer just a healer or a prisoner, she had become a conspirator against forces within one of the galaxy's most powerful institutions, with countless lives hanging in the balance. The security breach alarm blared. Through the medical station, as Lysithea frantically downloaded her modified nanite protocols into the central treatment database. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from stimulants she'd taken to stay alert through her 3rd consecutive work cycle. They've discovered Riven's presence, Nixar reported, securing the laboratory doors. Inquisitorial forces are sweeping level by level. How much time? Lysithea didn't look up from her work. Minutes, no more. In the 5 days since Riven's revelation, Lysithea had worked tirelessly to modify her nanite programming with a critical safeguard. They would heal, but never harm. She'd encoded a self-destruct sequence that would trigger if the nanites detected attempts to reprogram them for destructive purposes. Almost there, she murmured, as the progress indicator showed 94%. Where's Kef with the distribution plan? As if summoned, the arachnoid researcher scuttled through the side entrance, multiple limbs carrying data tablets. The modified treatment. Protocols have been designated as urgent updates and queued for all medical facilities treating plague victims. Once you complete the upload, they'll automatically deploy across the concordant network. The door shuddered as something heavy impacted it from outside. Inquisitorial override in progress, announced the station's AI. Nixar drew its weapon. Finish it, Doctor. The upload reached 100% just as the laboratory doors slid open. Grand Inquisitor Mazin slithered in, flanked by black-armored guards. Its feathered crest flared with rage. "Commander Nixar, you disappoint me!" Mazin hissed. "Conspiring with the prisoner and a known dissident?" "She's not a prisoner anymore," Nixar replied, weapon steady. "And I've seen the evidence. Hemlock violated every principle of the Concordat." Mazin's eyes narrowed. "Hemlock serves the greater good. The plague was unfortunate, but the research continues to benefit us. With Dr. Voss's nanites, we can finally control which species live and which perish." "Genocide," Lysithea said, stepping forward. "You're talking about genocide." "I'm talking about efficiency," Mazin countered. "Resources are finite. Some species contribute more than others." "It's done," Lysithea said with quiet satisfaction. "I've just uploaded modifications to every treatment center in Concordat space. The nanites can no longer be weaponized. They'll self-destruct if reprogrammed for harm." Mazin's rage was palpable. "You've overestimated your importance, human. We have your research. We have your blood. We can recreate your work without you." "Can you?" A new voice entered the conversation as the lights flickered. On every screen in the laboratory appeared the geometric form of Grand Arbiter Pezron. "Inquisitor Mazin, your Hemlock operation has been under investigation for some time. Dr. Voss's evidence was the final confirmation we needed." Mazin hissed in defiance. "You knew what was necessary. The Council has grown weak, accommodating lesser species while resources dwindle." "And yet," Pezron replied calmly, "it was one of these lesser species who provided the cure we could not develop ourselves. Security forces loyal to the Arbiter poured into the laboratory, surrounding Mazin's guards." "Dr. Voss," Pezron addressed her directly, "the Council has reviewed the data you provided. Hemlock has been disbanded. Those responsible will face justice." Lysithea sagged with relief against her workstation. "And my status?" "No longer a consultant," Pezron replied. "The Council has created a new position, Interspecies Medical Liaison. With your consent, you would lead a division focused on adapting your healing technologies for all Concordat citizens." It was more than she'd hoped for. Recognition, authority, the chance to expand her work beyond anything possible on Earth. And contact with my homeworld? She pressed. "Open communication, and transport home when you wish it," Pezron confirmed. "Though we hope you'll consider making your primary residence among the stars. Humanity has much to offer the Concordat, and much to gain from it." As Mazin was led away in restraints, Nixar approached Lysithea. Its skin rippled with a color she'd never seen before, something like respect mingled with hope. "You've changed everything," the commander said quietly. Lysithea thought of Earth, suddenly so small in her mind's eye. She thought of the countless species she'd now healed, and the billions more she could help. "No," she replied, watching as Kef confirmed the successful deployment of her modified nanites across the stars. We've only just begun. 1 Earth year after her abduction, Lysithea stood before the Concordate's newly formed Interspecies Medical Council, no longer an outsider, but its elected chairperson. The chamber, located on a station orbiting a neutron star at the galaxy's hub, housed representatives from over 300 species, all united by their shared experience with the Moirai plague and its aftermath. The nanite distribution program has reached 94% of affected systems, she reported, projecting a galactic map marked with green indicators of successful treatment centers. Recovery rates exceed 87% for early detection cases, 63% for advanced cases. Ambassador Orothea, now the Krellian representative to the Council, raised a crystalline appendage. And what of the remaining systems beyond Concordate space? The plague recognizes no political boundaries. It was the question Lysithea had been preparing for. That brings me to today's proposal. Operation Outstretched Hand. The holographic display shifted to show regions beyond Concordate influence, areas controlled by the reclusive Veil Dominion, the nomadic drift collectives, and other civilizations that had historically rejected Concordate authority. These regions have refused our medical. Team's entry, Lysithea continued. Pride, suspicion, ancient grudges, the reasons vary, but the cost is measured in lives. I propose a new approach. Commander Nixar, recently promoted to Security Director for the Medical Council, stepped forward. We've developed specialized medical vessels, small, minimally armed, capable of atmospheric entry and rapid deployment. Each carries a full nanite production facility and a mixed-species medical team. Without approval from their governments? Asked a methane-breathing counselor. We go where we're called, Lysithea clarified. There are always those who place survival above politics, local healers, community leaders, people who've heard of our success and reach out in desperation. The council chambers erupted in debate. Such an approach risked diplomatic incidents, possible military confrontation. Yet the alternative was to watch billions perish from a plague the Concordate itself had accidentally unleashed. Grand Arbiter Pezron, who had become Lysithea's most powerful ally, raised glowing appendages for silence. Dr. Voss came to us as a prisoner. She could have limited her assistance, held her knowledge hostage for personal gain. Instead, she chose to heal without distinction. Perhaps it is time the Concordate learned from its human liaison. The vote that followed was not unanimous, but the majority carried. Operation Outstretched Hand would proceed. Later, in her private quarters, Lysithea engaged the quantum entanglement communicator that linked her to Earth. Her sister's face appeared, no longer showing the shock of early conversations, but still tinged with the sadness of separation. The expansion program passed, Lysithea reported. We'll be taking the cure to every corner of the galaxy, even to civilizations that consider the Concordate enemies. That's my big sister, came the reply across light years of space. Always taking on more patients than you can handle. Lysithea smiled. Earth's membership application to the Concordate is progressing too. The technology exchange has begun, controlled, gradual, but real. In a decade, maybe less, we'll have regular interstellar transit. Until then, we miss you. Mom keeps your research lab exactly as you left it. Tell her not to, Lysithea said gently. Science doesn't stand still. Neither should Earth. After the call ended, Lysithea stepped to the observation dome of her quarters. The neutron star pulsed rhythmically against the backdrop of countless distant systems. Somewhere among them, medical ships were departing, carrying her nanite technology to species who had never heard of humans, who would never know that their salvation came from a planet most considered primitive. Director Nixar joined her, its skin a contemplative blue in the starlight. The first teams report successful landings in the drift territories. They were welcomed, cautiously. It's a start, Lysithea nodded. Some in the military still consider you dangerous, Nixar observed. A human with too much influence. And, what do you think? She asked. You were the one who captured me after all? Nixar's skin rippled with an emotion that didn't translate. I think the cosmos has a peculiar sense of irony. We abducted the most powerful healer in known space, only to find ourselves transformed by her presence. Beyond the observation dome, a fleet of medical vessels prepared for departure, their hulls emblazoned with a new symbol, a human hand beneath stylized stars. From prisoner to diplomat to legend in one Earth year, Nixar continued. There are already stories spreading among the outer systems, the human healer who came from the stars to save the lost and forgotten. Lysithea watched the ships engage, their faster-than-light drives disappearing in flashes of controlled space-time distortion. Each carried a piece of her work, her legacy, and each would return with knowledge of new species, new physiologies, new challenges for her ever-evolving Nanits to overcome. Not a legend, she corrected gently. Just a doctor who found herself with the biggest practice in the cosmos. As the last ship vanished into the darkness, Lysithea reflected on the strange path that had brought her here. Abducted, imprisoned, threatened, yet now standing at the center of the greatest humanitarian mission the galaxy had ever known. The universe, it seemed, worked in mysterious ways. The most powerful healer in the cosmos had indeed been a prisoner once. But in freeing herself, she had begun to free the stars themselves from the scourge of distrust and division that had plagued them far longer than any crystalline contagion. Her nanites would heal bodies. Her example, perhaps, would begin to heal something far greater.